Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sense and Sensibility. We are finishing up with the movie this week, so if you haven't seen the movie that has Alan Rickman in it for Sense and Sensibility, please stop listening now, go watch it, and then come back and we can talk about it. But I don't want anyone to get spoilers for the movie. We'll also be discussing the entire book too, so if you haven't read the book and you haven't read the movie, go back. Haven't watched the movie, go back, listen to the first parts of the this episode, and then read the book, watch the movie, all that good stuff, and then come back, and then you'll be ready to talk about it. Or if you don't mind spoilers, cool, then hop in. It'll be great. Next, after this, we will be reading The Great Gatsby. So if you haven't read that yet and you want to make sure you read it, please do that before next week, because those episodes will start coming out next week. And it'll be a lot of fun. We will have one of my friends join us, and you guys will love it. I really think you'll love it. I loved it. It was the first time I ever read The Great Gatsby, even though I had seen parts of The Great Gatsby previously. It was nice to actually be able to read it. So that'll be a lot of fun to talk about. But without further ado, let's get into this episode. Hello, hi everyone. We are here with Allison once again, and we are not reading. We watched the Sense and Sensibility movie, the 1995 version, not to be confused with the BBC version that I almost watched because it was free with Amazon Prime. And we are joined with Allison.
Hello.
That was a great intro from me. Early morning recordings are always fun.
Flawless.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll just go through the movie and we're going to talk about it. And okay, so the first scene that they show is John Dashwood and his father dying. And I was immediately it looks like he's lying with promising to his father. I was like,
you can see him doing the math in his head of what he's supposed to do.
He's mouthing words, trying to figure out how he's going to be I can't afford this.
I mean, he means to help them. He just, I don't know. The scenes with Fanny talking him down, though, are pretty funny.
Yeah. It was and then I thought this was one conversation, but they looked like it was a montage conversation that happened throughout the entire day as they're running errands.
Yes, which I kind of liked better.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. And then Fanny's dog just looks mad to be there.
It's a whippet, I think.
Yeah, it looks like Jenna Marbles' dog.
It's much bigger, though. It's leggier. It's a mid-sized dog.
Yeah, this dog just kind of looks super salty. There was a lot of dogs in this movie, which I liked. But
it had my favorite dog breed in this movie, and I was very shocked.
What's your favorite?
A Nova Scotia duck-tolling retriever.
That just kind of sounds bougie. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
They're expensive. I'm not gonna lie. We really wanted one, and I don't know if it's still a plan at one point. But they're, obviously they have Canadian roots, so I was a little surprised that they were in an 1800s England movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough about them to know if they're actually there in that point in time.
I don't know either. I think I will say that this movie felt very much in the time period in comparison to the 2005 Pride and Prejudice, where you kind of felt in 2005, you kind of felt like it was casually placed in that time period. This one was no, we're in the 1800s. Things are kind of gross and there's a lot of people, but here we are. They were not afraid to show dirt.
I feel like they really romanticize the 2005 Pride and Prejudice for sure. I think that's why people like it too. I really love that movie, but I think that Sense and Sensibility is a little bit more realistic, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I think so too. And then, okay, so then we get to showing Mama Dashwood mourning, and that John and Fanny is about to move in. And Mama Dashwood is bawling her eyes out, and Marianne is paying the most dramatic piano music, and Eleanor's like, could you play something else? And she goes to even more mournful dramatic piano music, and I just thought it was so funny.
She's like that girl that like turns on her stereo and slams the door closed in her bedroom.
Literally. So one of the things that I noticed was different is that Mama Dashwood immediately wanted to leave as soon as John and Fanny were coming.
Right.
Which is not like a bad change, it's just different, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that with any of these movies, they kind of speed up the time frame because, you know, they don't have time to show the passage of time.
Yeah. It was just, as we were kind of talking about, it felt like this entire movie took place in a week instead of taking place in like 4 months, which
Yeah.
like, I liked the way that 2005 like showed that time was passing, whereas this one was just like, you can guess that it was in 4 days instead of.
I mean, I guess like especially with the specifics of them wanting to leave Norland right away, you know that Mama Dashwood does not like Fanny, like pretty much from the start. So it's not that wild of a conclusion for them to just like want to get out of there. Yeah. And plus, like, they're a lot more inclined to get out of there once they find out that Fanny definitely openly disapproves of Edward and Eleanor.
Yeah. And they're like immediately trying to kick out the Dashwoods too. Like they're sitting at the dinner table and they're like, so like, have you looked at places yet? Like Fanny's like, what do you think about like leaving?
Yeah. And John's like, if that's okay.
Yeah, literally. And then Fanny tried to kick Margaret out of her own bedroom so that Edward could stay there too.
Do you love Margaret in the movie or do you
she's
love
really
Margaret?
Cute.
I told you she's like almost important in the movie and she's like not important at all in the book.
I know. I love her little curls too.
I know, I love her.
She's super adorable. Like that actress is really cute. And she is. Yeah, I love that they actually talked about Margaret in the movie because she's just not mentioned at all.
She's like barely mentioned. Like when they think about their family complete as a whole, they think of Margaret and their mom being there also.
Yeah, true.
But that's pretty much it. And like there's also, I think we talked about it before in the earlier episodes, but there's times where they allude to things that Margaret had said that were inappropriate in the book, and then in the movie they like fully show those moments.
Yeah. Which I liked it. I didn't mind it. And then so Edward is like immediately warming everyone's heart and they love him because like one of the things he does is he like hides that Margaret's there from Fanny so that like they don't have to interact because he knows Margaret does not want to interact with Fanny and he does not
just
seem to blame
slides
her.
The atlas underneath the table.
Yeah, so Fanny won't see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes back later with Eleanor trying to like show that he found where Margaret was hiding because everyone was looking for her. And like the fact that they draw her out using Margaret's own intelligence made me laugh.
Oh yeah. I'm telling you, Margaret is an essential part to this movie.
Yeah, I liked it. I really liked that she was in there more.
I think the casting is good in these movies too. Like I think Hugh Grant is the perfect Edward. He's so awkward, but like charming in a strange way.
Yeah. They always seem to cast Jane Austen movies very well. And that's with my only seeing 2 of them so far. But, you know, so far we're 2 for 2, you know?
You'll have to watch the other versions too. Like there's a Pride and Prejudice that has Colin Firth in it as Mr. Darcy, and that one's really long. That one's interesting too. I mean, I definitely prefer the 2005 one just because I kind of like how they romanticized it, like I said, but you got to watch the other ones too.
Yeah, I do. I really want to. So then Margaret and Edward's sword fight, and it was super, super cute. And I was like, oh, this is adorable. I love this for them.
And then he has the moment where he's looking out in the window towards Eleanor and he gets stabbed by Margaret with his sword.
Like, ruthless.
Yeah.
Absolutely ruthless.
I like that for her, though.
Yeah, me too. So then Edward and Eleanor are like spending all their time together. It's super duper cute. And then in the movie, when they get the letter for Barton College, Mama Dashwood wants to wait to see if Eleanor and Edward have an attachment.
And then Fanny is like, not in my house.
Yeah, literally. But Marianne already thinks that Edward and Eleanor are engaged, and Eleanor's like, bro, what?
There's a big misunderstanding throughout these books.
Yeah, that's basically the plot, is miscommunication.
Yeah. It's like Much Ado About Nothing.
Yeah. And then this is where Fanny calls Eleanor a gold digger to Mama Dashwood, basically. And then Mama Dashwood's like, all right, peace, we're out.
Yeah.
Goodbye. And then they made Sir John a widower in this one, which I thought was just kind of like a weird change.
Do they specifically say he's a widower?
Yeah.
But I think I told you when we were reading that Lady Middleton is not in the movie, and I don't really think that she's necessary.
I don't think she's necessary, but it's just a strange change, you know?
I almost like it. I don't prefer it because it's obviously not the book, but I love the idea of John and his mother-in-law being real close.
Yeah.
And like so close that like even though that Lady Middleton is gone, he is best friends with her mom.
Yeah. I do think the two of them are really funny together.
Oh yeah. Mrs. Jennings.
Absolutely wonderful. Love her.
So great.
Then Edward tries to tell Eleanor about Lucy, but Fanny comes running out to make sure that Edward and Eleanor are not left alone together so that he can't propose, because that's what she thinks he's going to do.
Fanny's annoying.
She is so annoying.
She runs in and she's like, you must go do the thing that I never told you about.
Yeah, and he's like, what? And he's like, I'm going to town this afternoon. And she's like, no, right now. You're going right now. And he's like, okay.
And Edward's such a string bee, and he's just like, okay. Yeah.
String bee.
That's an expression I've decided just now.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Because
I over backwards for people.
He's a limp noodle.
Yep.
So Sir John and Mrs. Jennings have like 4 dogs. No, there was like 6 of them at the end.
Including the little Nova Scotia duck-tolling retriever.
It was so cute. They like showed up in an open top carriage and then all these dogs pour out. Like they didn't even let the family like settle in at all. They are just roll up and then they immediately bring all their dogs over and they're like, look, hello.
Yeah, but Sir John and Mrs. Jennings are crazy and I feel like it's a good way to introduce them as just chaotic.
Yeah. I thought it was funny though.
It is.
And then the cottage is huge and the country is beautiful and everyone is super duper cold. Like and
everyone is cold.
I would kill to have a house that big, you know, for $500 a month.
Yeah, in the Nashville area, it's like a $300,000 house at least.
Yeah, same in Florida. It's like 300, 400, depending on where you live. If you can see water or not.
It's got some good square footage. I mean, in the book, they describe it as having like enough bedrooms and stuff like that, but they just expected extravagance, I guess.
Yeah. I would love that house. It sounds great.
I guess like you spend so much time at your home and at other people's homes that the home really mattered. It's not like people were going out to restaurants and hanging out with their friends there, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Not going
to
bar hopping.
The pub is kind of a sketchy place.
Yeah. Especially for people like this rich.
I feel like everything is about status, and showing off your status would be with your home. And I mean, the same way it is now, like when you entertain people, to some extent, you are showing off what you have.
That's true. And then they go to talk about they're like all eating lunch together, and like the family and then Sir John and Mrs. Jennings are all eating lunch together. And this is the point where Margaret says that Eleanor likes someone named Mr. F. And my main observance of this is that Eleanor had her own side of the table just to truly distinguish that she's the main character here. And I thought it
I
was
think
really
it's
funny.
almost too that she's just being attacked.
Yeah, but I just thought it was funny that like the three other members of her family had to sit all on one side of the table and she's just by herself.
I just love that in this scene. They allude to this scene in the book. This is one of those moments where they talk about Margaret speaking out of turn, but they don't describe it. And I love seeing it in the movie where they start just like rattling off names with F's. They're just like Foster, Fitzwilliam.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Literally.
And everyone at the table is like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Make it stop.
Poor Margaret. She's just a wee baby and everyone's like expects her to act like an adult.
Yeah, man. Margaret really gets shafted.
So then Marianne starts playing, and this is where Eleanor realizes that it's love at first sight for Colonel Brandon.
Yeah, he's captivated.
So then my next thing is, I was like, everybody knows that Colonel Brandon is in love with Marianne, and he's only been in the film for literally 3 seconds.
I mean, that's sort of how it is in the book, too. Like, they have all these moments where they're like, oh my God, he loves her. It's like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, everyone knows.
Like, you
it's
knew the
obvious.
second this man entered the book.
Yeah, truly.
It's also obvious how much Marianne hates him. Not hates, but like.
Does not like.
Yeah, does not like.
And then a weird change in the movie version is that Eliza never married Colonel Brandon's brother. Instead, she just apparently like slept around.
I mean, she did also get slept around.
Yeah, wow, she did that English, after though. But... She did that after her divorce though, because like she was in a loveless marriage. So it's just weird because there's really nothing keeping Colonel Brandon and Eliza apart in this, whereas there was that factor of she was married to his brother, not by her choice. And it's just very strange that they decided to go that route instead.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a minute detail, but it also is an easy thing that they could have just mentioned.
Yeah, it's just a weird change, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I think most of the stuff they changed in here was just like really weird changes to me. They're not like big details. It was just like, that's kind of strange that you did that, but all right. Like, right. Not that it really matters to the overall plot. It's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it also, I mean, it's a minute detail, but I also think it is a little bit important because I feel like that's why Colonel Brandon sympathizes so much with Edward and Lucy's situation, because he wasn't allowed to marry the person that he loved.
Yeah, that's very true.
And so he ends up helping them out because of a forbidden marriage.
Yeah. I just think that like is a lot about his character too. Is like he already got his love stolen from him once. Like they wanted to marry each other. And this one, it seems like he was just fawning after Eliza and she had no like reciprocation of those feelings.
Yeah, I think, well, I don't think they make it seem like she doesn't love him back. They just don't explain the details as to why they cannot be together, really.
Yeah, but it just kind of
that he says that they're disapproved of.
Yeah, but I don't know. Just the way it sounded like he just didn't care back because she just kind of slept around instead.
Well, yeah. I mean, in the book, it's also sort of similar, though. She does end up sleeping around with everyone just because she's got basically nothing going for her at that point because no one gets divorced in those days.
Yeah. Poor Eliza.
Yeah.
So Edward is supposed to come immediately in the movie, which again was just another one of those weird changes. Because in the book, you know, he's supposed to be like they had no promises, and Eleanor is very upfront about that. Like, you know, everyone thought he was going to come really soon. She's like, well, he never made any promise to me. But in this one, he literally promised and he just like couldn't come.
Yeah.
So. And then the other thing that I thought was kind of funny is when Marianne falls, Willoughby is literally on a horse on this one and still carries her in his arms back
Isn't
all
he
the way
on a
across.
horse in the other one? In
No,
the book, I mean?
he had a dog and a gun. He was going hunting. It didn't say he was on a horse that I remember.
Oh, maybe just in my head I painted it that way because I've seen the movie so many times.
Yeah, I don't think he was on a horse. I thought he was just walking the other direction.
Yeah, so what do you think of Willoughby in the movie?
The actor is so pretty.
He's actually in The Crown.
Really?
Yeah, he plays like the uncle to Philip, Prince Philip.
Yeah, I think they casted him perfectly. The weird thing though is they really aged everyone up in this movie. Like you could tell that Emma Thompson was not in her 20s.
Yeah, I do think she is young in this movie. I mean, obviously much younger than she is now, but she does look a little bit older than she probably should, but I like her as the option.
Yeah. It's just hard because they kind of aged everyone a bit more than they should have been because like Willoughby does not look like he's 20.
Well, and Margaret, I feel like looks really young.
Yeah, Margaret looks really young. Marianne looks kind of young. Like I could have believed that she was in her 20s.
Yeah. She actually might have been in her 20s. So it's got to
Yeah.
be like right around the time. When did Titanic come out?
Because that was Kate Winslet, right? That played her?
Yeah. I'm going to look up when Titanic came out because I don't remember.
I don't know when it came out, so I can't help you here.
No, it's alright. I'm just going to look it up really fast.
But it's like Colonel Brandon was, like Alan Rickman at that point was perfect age. And then like everyone just kind of looked a little too old for what they were supposed to be. But I think they do that in every movie, so it's not like a deal breaker for me.
So Titanic came out in 1997. So this actually, Sense and Sensibility came out before.
Yeah, 2 years before.
So how old is Kate Winslet? She's 45.
She would have been 20.
Dang, she's been
20?
married 3 times. I did not know this.
Oh. She would have been exactly 20, right? When Sense and Sensibility came out. She's 45 right now.
I think so.
Because that was
I'm not very
25
good at
years
math.
ago. Yeah, she would have been 20. So there you go. She was like aged perfectly, and everyone else was just a wee bit too old. How old was Emma Thompson in that movie?
She was about 20. You're right. Emma Thompson. Let's see. I mean, actors always play differently than their age. Emma Thompson right now is 61. Dang, she looks good.
She was 36, 36, I think.
Oh my gosh, she was married to Kenneth Branagh?
That means nothing to me. I'll be honest. I don't
Wait, I'm double checking myself. Isn't he the guy that plays Gilderoy Lockhart?
Is he?
Yeah, he is. He's also like the director of Thor and stuff.
Oh yeah, I did know that he was like a director.
She's not married to him. Wait, hold on. No, they're no longer married, but they were married at one point. They got divorced in 1995.
Interesting.
Sorry, I'm like very into this.
I know, they got divorced when Sense and Sensibility came out. Strange.
I wonder why. Let me look at her current spouse. Oh my god! Wait. Okay, just kidding. Hold on. I'm looking at her husband. He looks like... Oh my gosh! John Willoughby! The guy that plays Willoughby, she's married to him!
What?
Maybe that's why they got divorced.
Oh my gosh.
In 1995. Oh my gosh. I never knew that.
Wow. I mean, honestly, they look perfect for each other. Like, they're both very pretty people.
They are. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Wow.
So Emma Thompson gets divorced in 1995. the same year she's doing this movie with Greg Wise, whom she's been married to since 2003.
Okay, so maybe they like dated after. We're deep diving into Emma Thompson's relationships.
I am just having a moment. Hold on.
It's fine.
How could I not know such a thing?
Do you follow celebrities' marital statuses?
I mean, honestly, no.
Anyways, back to Sense and Sensibility, the movie.
We are talking about the movie. This is crazy.
I know. Now we got too much into actors, though.
All right. Well, my point is, she was probably like, what, pushing 40?
I think I just did the math and she was like 37.
Yeah, so pushing 40.
So that kind of makes sense because she didn't look like in her 20s. So I don't know. It was like very obvious that she was not in her 20s.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, she still looks good for her age, though.
Oh, yeah. No, like she looks amazing. She's beautiful and stunning. But like also it was.
But you're also supposed to be playing someone who's 20 years old.
Yeah. And like if you're older than 20, it's just very obvious that you're not 20, you know?
Do I look not 20?
No, dude, you look 20.
Well, I'm older than 20.
I'm just saying, like, once you like go over like 26, you can't play someone that's like 20, you know? Because
I feel like it's hard to play someone in your 20s when you're out of your 20s.
Yeah, definitely.
But I wasn't mad about it.
I'm not mad about it. It's just, I always think it's funny when they say stuff like, oh, she's about to become a spinster, where it's like, you think about it, and at 37, she would have 100% been a spinster at that time period, you know?
Right.
It's just one of those things. So then, you know, Marianne fell and she's like laying on the couch. And then they kick Colonel Brandon and Sir John out in the movie so that Willoughby can come in. And then Colonel Brandon and Willoughby have an awkward stare down. And I didn't realize that at that point, you know, Colonel Brandon didn't know like what Willoughby did. So he's just kind of like, oh, this is weird. But, you know, Willoughby looks kind of like shaken to see Colonel Brandon.
Colonel Brandon's a gentleman, though. Like, even if he knew, I don't know. That's probably not true. But he is a gentleman. I don't think he would, like, he doesn't ever, even in the book, try to destroy a chance of happiness for Marianne with him.
Yeah, that's true. It just is funny because they just, like, stare down as they pass each other.
And then there's, like, the awkward thing about the flowers that they bring, where he brings her, like, Colonel Brandon brings her these beautiful flowers from a florist, and then Willoughby brings her wildflowers.
Yeah, she's like, oh, I love these better. And, you know, they're like comparing each other. And I'm like, you just think Willoughby's hot, but it's fine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, like, they start saying Shakespeare together. They just, like, start reciting it for no reason, Marianne and Willoughby. And I was like, okay.
Well, they have that kind of moment in the book, too, where they, like, go through all the things that they like and dislike, and they have all the same preferences. Yeah. So I guess, like, that's what's kind of strange about this movie is that there's a lot of conversations in the book that are alluded to but not described that the movie takes liberties with.
Yeah.
And I think that in this case, that one made sense.
Yeah. It's just funny seeing it played out because, like, when you hear about the book, like, when you read it in the book and it's like they're saying how that kind of happened, you don't like think about how it actually happened, and then like you see how awkward and weird this would have been, and you're like, okay.
See, but that is your experience because you hadn't seen the movie before. I've seen the movie so many times that I was like, oh yeah, like I didn't think anything about it.
Yeah, I was just like, huh, okay, weird.
Which is why reading the book before is important. But to be fair, the first time I watched these movies, I was probably too young to understand the books.
That's fair. I just don't have any experience with the movies previously or the books, so every time it's like a new experience.
I enjoy how shook you get by it.
I know, there's just so many things in this movie. I was just like, huh, that's kind of weird. All right.
Yeah. I enjoy it.
So Eleanor is out here absolutely wrecked, and like Marianne's just sitting here flaunting her feelings, and Colonel Brandon is like having to watch this and all that, and I was like, feeling really bad for Colonel Brandon.
I love him. Honestly, if it wasn't Alan Rickman, I'd probably feel differently.
Really?
I don't know. That's probably not true. I really like his character, but I don't know. Who did you like the most in the movie?
Honestly, probably Colonel Brandon.
Is he your favorite character?
I think so. I don't know why. I also like Margaret a lot.
I like Margaret a lot.
Yeah.
I think Mrs. Jennings is still my favorite.
Yeah.
She's a freak.
She's really funny. I like her more in the book though, because they like cut her time in half in the movie, you know, because we didn't get any of Cleveland with her. We barely got any London because they were basically there for 2 days and then they left.
Are in Cleveland though when Marianne gets sick.
No, Mrs. Jennings doesn't go to Cleveland. She stays in London.
Oh, but okay, I misunderstood. I thought you said that they didn't go to Cleveland.
No.
And I was like, no, they go.
Yeah, no. Like my favorite parts of Mrs. Jennings' character was like while she was in London with them and they were all hanging out. So it's like I felt like I got that all taken away and I was like,
Did you love the olives comment?
Yeah, the olives is very funny.
See, it's like not supposed to be that funny and I find it so funny.
It was very funny. It was funny because I knew like how much you enjoy it and then like I made
because you knew how much this pointless comment means to me.
Yeah, and I was just like, I need to like watch out for this, and then you're like, hey, the olives are coming. And I was like, okay, and then it made me laugh.
She's so ridiculous. I love it in the movie too because Marianne is like bawling her eyes out, and she's just like, yes, he's getting married.
Literally.
But back to our timeline.
Yeah. And then so Eleanor is doing all of the finances for the entire house, which like I didn't realize that was something that she was doing. Like,
well, she's the only one that knows how to budget. That is apparent in the book.
Yeah, I just didn't really think about it, but she's like everyone's coming to her, talking to her about like the prices they can afford and that kind of stuff. I was just like, oh, okay, like poor Eleanor having to be the mom of the entire house.
Yeah, Mama Dashwood is like not that responsible.
No, not really. And then Colonel Brandon had to invite Willoughby to the picnic just to get Marianne to come. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, that part's awkward as hell.
Yeah.
I'd be delighted to join you.
Yeah, because that doesn't happen in the book.
I think that she's not really interested unless if he's there, though, for sure. I think some of these things are made obvious in the book, but like aren't stated.
Yeah, that's true. And then Nancy Steele doesn't exist.
Which I was fine with.
Honestly. Yeah, I was like, okay, whatever.
She's not necessary.
No, she really isn't.
She's just annoying. Talking about the freaking doctor all the time.
Yeah, and they definitely made Lucy way less catty, which is a change that, like, while it's not bad, I didn't
like it.
Yeah, I was like, I like catty Lucy. Like,
yeah, man, I feel like, well, because I told you when we were reading the books, like, I was so shocked at how mean Lucy was, because in the movie, they kind of just paint her as a ditz.
Yeah.
Like I think unaware.
I think it's important that she's catty because it makes the ending and the confusion make sense. Whereas in this movie, you know, Lucy is really nice and kind of just not very smart. So she would have said, oh, yeah, I actually married Robert.
Yeah, for like no reason. Like you don't see her as a gold digger.
Yeah. Whereas like.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to ask you how you felt.
Yeah, I was just very confused on that change because I felt like it was unnecessary and they basically just completely changed her character for no reason.
Yeah, I don't think that one, I mean, I don't know if the casting's bad necessarily, but I think
she could have played a mean girl. I think she was a very good Lucy, especially being the ditz, but I think she could have played a mean girl if she wanted to.
Right. I think that now that I've read it, I think it makes more sense for her to be catty because she's conniving and wants to make Eleanor hurt. Yeah.
Where it's like now that miscommunication just doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah.
So I really wish they would have kept Lucy being a mean girl. And especially because they don't have her sister. No, now that I'm thinking about it, then she wouldn't have said anything to Fanny if she was the mean girl. Do you think? Because
maybe out of vanity.
Yeah. I don't know.
But she knows whether or not she's mean in the book, she still thinks that she's very well received by this family. So it wouldn't necessarily be important if she's mean or not for her to tell Fanny, I think.
Yeah, maybe not.
Because I think it makes more sense a little bit in the movie that I see your point. Like, I think it makes a little bit more sense that she would be more willing to say it because she's nice.
Yeah.
But I also think that they make her just like stupid in the movie and not like as cunning.
Yeah, that's very true. And it's just a weird change that I don't think was good.
Yeah, I don't think I agree with that change. I think for the most part, my blanket belief of this movie is that most of the changes make sense to me. Like, it's not, like, the liberties they took were not that extreme. Yeah. I think, other than, like, yeah, they sped it up, but, like, it's a movie. That's stuff happens. Like, Harry Potter is the same way with all those things. It's like,
yeah, that Triwizard tournament looked like it was the only thing that happened the entire year. They didn't go to class.
Right. It looks like they never went to class.
They just should have tried to find a way to show the passage of time, because they didn't attempt that at all. So it made it look like everything happened in like 5 days.
Well, that part's true. I think that they could have done at least like the seasons changing and like a little bit of like being around the holidays and whatever. But I'm not mad about it. I think it also in some ways shows like the ridiculousness of everything that happens with Willoughby and Marianne, for one.
Yeah, it's just funny because it's like the day after Willoughby leaves, Mrs. Jenny's like, let's go to London. And Marianne's like, yeah, let's go to London.
Well, she wants to go because Willoughby's there. Yeah. That's in the book too.
But it was like a month after Willoughby left, they go. Whereas like this happens a day after.
Well, right. And there's not as much back and forth with things. So there's a lot of times where like Edward comes to visit to like call on Eleanor, and it's when Lucy's there. Like they like jam pack a lot of things into like the same meeting.
Yeah.
Which like it kind of makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Like I'd rather everything be 100% of the book most of the time, but it doesn't bother me.
I feel like the only way things can be 100% to the book is if they're miniseries. Like you can't really do it with a movie, no matter how much you try, because it's like you can't have a 5-hour movie. Yeah, I mean you can. Agree. Lord of the Rings did it, but like
Lord of the Rings did it on certain occasions, so they didn't need to do it. Like The Hobbit. The Hobbit could have been one movie. I'm just unpopular opinion. Okay.
I still have not read it, but
I'm not going to lie to you, and this is a very unpopular opinion. I thought The Hobbit was good. I'm not saying it's not good. And Tolkien's a great writer, but I have such bad attention span that Tolkien over-describes for me to the point where I forget what we're even talking about.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, and it's one of those that I'm going to have to, like, set aside time to read, and I just don't have time to do that right now.
Right. I mean, it's a good book. It's definitely a classic you should read, but like for that reason, I obviously started with The Hobbit, but I was like, oh, I'll read Lord of the Rings too, because I get the movies, and my brother's read the books, my mom's read the books, so like for the most part, if I have a question, like they know the answer. So I do understand the plot pretty well, but sometimes I want to be able to understand it more. Yeah. And then after reading The Hobbit, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it.
Maybe at some point we'll cover it on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, yeah, when I have 2 years off.
Yeah.
Tangent.
Small tangent. It's fine. So they were supposed to picnic at Delaford when Colonel Brandon left. And it's even worse is because now that I realize that Willoughby is talking smack about Colonel Brandon, now that we actually know what happened between them and that he slept with Beth.
But it's not, I don't think that Willoughby's even aware that he's knocked this girl up at this point.
You don't
I mean,
think so?
obviously he's aware that he's done something wrong, but I don't
Yeah.
think he knows until Lady Allen. Like, I don't think anyone knows that this girl is with child until later,
Want to
until
know
he
how
gets that
Lady.
letter.
Also, they call her Lady Allen. Her name's Mrs. Smith.
Yeah, I think they just do it so that people that don't know the books understand the fact that she's from Allenham.
I
It's
guess.
not, yeah, I agree. It's not an important change. Like, some of those things are like easy changes where it's like, just stick to the book, man. Like, this.
Yeah, it's like not that hard. So it's like, okay, why would you change that? But all
I
right.
agree. I definitely agree. There's certain times when they do things like that, and I'm like, was it, like when you said the thing about Eliza, like it really wouldn't have been that hard for him to say that like she ended up marrying her brother or his
Yeah.
brother. I mean,
Yeah. Also, they actually named Eliza's daughter in this one. They named her Beth, which she wasn't named in the book. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad you named her because it was very confusing to try and figure out who we're talking about.
okay, wait, we've talked about this, right? That I can never figure out what the name of Eliza's child is because they act like the baby's name is Eliza also.
Yeah, but they just don't name her.
But at one point, Willoughby talks about marrying Eliza. Like, did she
Yeah.
pass her name?
I don't know. Or I don't know. Also, it could have been one of those things where Eliza literally, you know, kicked the bucket as she was pregnant and Colonel Brandon named her Eliza as well, just in memory of her mother.
Right. Well, it's possible that she was also named Eliza, but maybe they call her Beth in the movie. In the
Yeah.
book, it definitely seems like both of them are Eliza. And I
Yeah.
was like, obviously having the movie first in my brain, I was like, is her name Eliza too? I thought Eliza was the one that Colonel Brandon left. But I think that maybe just for the ease of not going into that they maybe just named her, which, like, I
Honestly,
guess.
that's fine by me because I was like, I had no idea who we were talking about, you
Because in the
know?
book, I was confused. I'm also very still confused if that one girl's name is Anne or Nancy.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, okay, we'll just, I think it's Nancy Ann, you know?
I think you're probably right, but I just, like, why? Like,
I
why
don't
are you
know.
making it hard on me? Just tell me her name.
Literally.
You said it was Nancy, and then you started calling her Anne, and I don't know when we decided her name was Anne.
When Willoughby says that he has to go away, he literally sprints out of the cottage. And it made me laugh so hard.
I think it's
So
good, though. I think
dramatic.
it makes sense. He's, like,
It
trying
makes
to get the heck
sense.
out of there. And even in the book, I think he says, like, I'm not going to torment myself.
Yeah, but it was so dramatic that it made me laugh.
Yeah.
So everyone is crying, and Eleanor is literally
Literally
like left in the
everyone's
hallway.
crying.
Every single person locks themselves in their room. Like Marianne can't even get in the room that she shared, or Margaret can't even get in the room that I think she shares with Marianne, and has to go into a different room and locks the door.
Well, Marianne and Eleanor sleep together in the same room, and Margaret's bringing her a cup of tea.
Oh,
So then Margaret goes in her own room.
okay. I was like, I couldn't figure out the room arrangements here, but it was just funny to me that like no one could get in anywhere and they just locked all the doors, and then Eleanor's just sitting on the stairs like, what do I do now? With a cup
Yeah,
of
I don't
tea that
think
she
it's
didn't want.
like there's one point where Margaret and Eleanor are definitely sleeping in the same room. So either Margaret has her own room or is sleeping in the same room as her mother.
Yeah, I'm not sure. She probably is sharing a room with her mother because, well, either that or like they have that room set up for Margaret, and then like when guests come over, she stays in the room with her mother.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Lucy, instead of showing the small painting to prove that they're actually together, just shows the handkerchief and like blows her nose in it and has it so that like the ECF is like perfectly facing towards Eleanor, keeping in mind that Eleanor has the exact same handkerchief.
So awkward. I
It's
kind of
just,
like that way that they did that, though.
yeah, but it was funny to me because it was just like so extra because it wasn't that, it was like, it was like Lucy was trying to prove that they were actually engaged without actually
See,
super
I
showing
think
off.
that she is not very smart in this movie and does it, yes, to brag, but I don't think she does it with bad
Malintent.
intentions.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. it's weird.
Yeah, I don't like movie Lucy as much.
Yeah, me either. I think they just kind of ruined her character a bit.
Like, now that I've read the book, I'm confused why they went that way. I actually want to rewatch the other. I think I've seen the other version of it. I've seen a lot more versions of Pride and Prejudice, but I'd be interested to see. Yeah, we should maybe watch the other one.
Yeah, we could do that. That would be a lot of fun. Just because, I want to see a catty Lucy, real
Yeah,
bad.
I don't know if she is in that one either. I need to see like a picture of what that movie looks like, and then I would be able to know. Even if I had seen it though, it's been so many years. I'll look.
Okay. And then, as I said, immediately after Willoughby left, they're going to London. This one. And then Colonel Brandon kind of hints at his knowledge, but he doesn't say anything. When he asks Eleanor if, they're together, like if they're engaged. And then Robert Ferris is at the ball in this one. And
you hate Robert.
I hate Robert so much. He looks like a rat. And like
he does have a strange appearance in the movie. It's like the way he talks too.
And it's not to be mean about the actor, because I'm sure the actor outside of that movie looks fine, but like I don't know what he did with like his hair and overall just like outfit appearance, but it made him look like a rat.
It's also the way he's like speaking.
Yeah, that too. And then Miss Jennings makes Eleanor and Robert dance. And I was like, no. And then Eleanor trades off so that Lucy's dancing with Robert. And this is how they get Robert and Lucy to have feelings for each other instead.
Yeah, they make it more plausible that they like legit fell in love with each other.
Yeah. But I guess they had to do that because Lucy isn't catty in this one.
Yeah.
So this is closer to the dancing that I thought they would be doing in Pride and Prejudice. So with a 2000 Pride movie in Pride and Prejudice, they did like that line dancing where they passed by each other once, whereas this was like coupled dancing.
Right. I think that they do this in the other one too.
Do they?
Where they're like trading partners and stuff.
Well, they trade partners, but like they're in a line on either side, and they
I'd be
cross
curious
over.
to know which is more traditional.
Yeah, me too.
Or if both are traditional and just different.
Yeah, because it's like Jane Austen doesn't describe the dancing, so it's like you can't date it based on that.
And I think it's probably still. I'm sure they have a team of historians on this thing to make sure that it's at least semi-accurate.
Yeah. Someone tell me which is more likely that they did, because I had a lot of questions in 2005 how they barely talked, like how Elizabeth, thank you. You see my brain just break. How Elizabeth and Darcy talked, because they like barely pass by each other, whereas this they have a lot more close interactions where it would be more awkward that they weren't talking.
Right. Yeah. I bet they probably did a little bit of everything. Like, I think they do it so that people can meet each other and such.
So Willoughby and Eleanor ended up running into the dance floor in this one. And
good transition.
Yeah. Marianne yells across the entire ballroom for Willoughby, and everyone gets like really quiet. And I was like, oh, geez.
I think it's a good way of showing of like how tactless they are in their relationship.
Yeah, truly. So that's when you see that, Willoughby is engaged and all that hits the fan.
And Miss Grey is beautiful in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely stunning. But like also, I mean, this is the only time you get to see her in the entire movie, is this one
right,
part.
But also in the book.
Yeah, I guess she just gets mentioned. You don't get to really see her.
In the book, she's supposed to just be like average looking, but
really
has the money. Yeah.
She's beautiful in this one. And like, you can kind of get that she would be stuck up, though.
Right.
So that carried over.
That worked for us.
Yeah. And then Lucy is staying with Mrs. Jennings instead, which was a weird change, but they had to do that because she wouldn't stay with Lady Middleton and Sir John because Lady Middleton doesn't exist.
Right, yeah, I don't know where Sir John is at this point. He actually doesn't come to London, does he?
I don't think so.
I don't think he does either. He's not super, well, they do really condense this part, like all of London, because London is a big chunk in the book.
Yeah, it's like the majority of the book, and they were just like, that doesn't matter anyways.
As is every Jane Austen book when they go to London.
Yeah. They just basically made London 2 days because she finds out Willoughby is like getting married and they immediately leave for Cleveland.
Right.
And then Colonel Brandon is the one that told Eleanor that Willoughby intended to propose. And Eleanor tells Mary Ann immediately about this.
Right. Well, I mean, is that bad?
It's just weird to me.
I like the drama of Willoughby showing up drunk. I wish that was in the movie. But I also think if they were to cut it out, like Colonel Brandon is the right person to kind of.
Yeah, it's just weird to me because it's like, why would he have known? Like, it didn't seem that him and Mrs. Smith had a relationship. So it's weird that he would have found time to talk to Mrs. Smith in this very short window of getting.
Well, Beth. It makes sense, actually, because Willoughby has this illegitimate child and Mrs. Smith is to give him his inheritance.
Yeah.
So at one point they would probably have talked.
Yeah, true. It's just weird how it like plays out. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but it wouldn't be weird for him to talk to Mrs. Smith, though.
Yeah. True. And then we get to the awkward love triangle of Lucy, Eleanor, and Edward, and they did this perfectly. It's super duper awkward. The fact that he doesn't see Lucy when he immediately walks in because she's like behind him a little bit, I thought was
that was good.
Yeah, I thought that was very funny. And then, we flash next to Lucy telling Fanny that she's engaged to Edward, and I was like, the moron. And Fanny just pinches her nose and like pushes her out the door.
I enjoy her freak out in this movie.
Yeah, I thought it was very funny. And then she just got Lucy out of the house. And then this is when Mary Ann finds out that Edward and Lucy are engaged. And then she asks Eleanor where her heart is, and Eleanor just like fully breaks down. She's like, really? Like, I've been having to deal with it for months.
I think it's a justified freak out.
Yeah. Like, I just think it was kind of tactless for Mary Ann to do that. And I don't really remember her doing that in the book. Because in the book,
they make Mary Ann a lot more insensitive in the movie. I mean, she is sensitive, but like insensitive to other people's feelings. But she's like harder on Eleanor in the movie, I guess is the right way to phrase that.
Yeah. And it's weird to me that they would have that close of a relationship when Mary Ann is so hard on Eleanor,
Right. Yeah. I think the book does a better job.
Yeah.
In that sense.
And then Colonel Brandon, when he tells Eleanor about the small not estate, but the small parish, he says that it should allow them to marry immediately, which is just another small but also kind of weird change.
Yeah, that one it's another one of those things where I'm not really mad about it, but yeah. Not that hard to fix it.
I know. It's just like, I don't know why they made these small changes. Sometimes it feels like they almost just read the Cliff Notes of this book.
Well, I think in this case, it's to avoid having the conversation with Mama Ferris because she isn't even casted. You just hear of her. Because remember, he goes to Mrs. Ferris to find out if he can have any extra money to get married.
Well, he never expected them to give, like, Mama Ferris to give him money. And, like, she doesn't even, like, they don't explicitly say that he's been disowned, do they? In the movie?
Not specifically, but it's, like, alluded to that he has nothing now.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think they do that to avoid the whole, like,
Casting of
interaction
Mrs.
with,
Ferris.
yeah, and the interaction with her.
I get that. That's fine.
So, like, I'm not mad about it. It's
yeah,
just
that's
weird.
fine. And then Eleanor tells Edward that he will always be her friend, and I was like, ouch.
And he's like,
He's like, sounds great, thanks.
I mean, it's awkward because I feel like he doesn't know, like, he couldn't say the opposite anyway, but he, like, tries to say that he loves her, like, a million times without saying it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then because they sped the timeline up so much, Miss Jennings couldn't come with them to Cleveland because then it would have looked like she was only in London for 2 days and then went to Cleveland, which is a thing.
Yeah.
And when they arrive, Colonel Brandon is already in Cleveland. And then this is something that does not happen at all. Well, like, she goes for a walk, but so Marianne goes for a walk, and then it starts to rain, but she walks all the way to see Willoughby's house, and it's like bawling in the rain, staring at Willoughby's house. And like, that does not happen. She goes for a walk and gets rained on, I think.
I think it's alluded to in the book in the sense that she knows she's not far from the estate that he's to inherit.
The part that very much does not happen is Colonel Brandon has to go search for her in the pouring rain, and then he carries her back in his arms, and she is freezing.
Right. Yeah. I'm not mad about that change.
No, I just think they wanted to basically show that, like, this was going to be her next love interest immediately, you know, which was him doing the exact same thing Willoughby just did.
I think they tried to make it more realistic that she could fall in love with him.
Yeah. Yeah. True. Because in the book, it's not very realistic, you know? Like, there's no showing of them falling in love. It just kind of is like, oh, you're married now.
Yeah, I mean, that's, like, one of the major critiques of this book for, you know, as long as people have been critiquing it.
Yeah. So I'm okay with them actually showing them falling in love in the movie because I feel like that was much needed.
Yeah. I told you, I thought that the way they handle it in the movie is pretty good.
Yeah, and then Mrs. Palmer sprinting out of the room when the doctor came out and told her that there was an infection got to me. It made me laugh so hard.
Yeah, I told you that one was worth it.
Yeah, that was very funny.
So that's definitely what I pictured when I read the book.
Yeah, I loved that. And then so everyone leaves, and it's just Colonel Brandon and the doctor because Mrs. Jennings isn't there. And then they make Marianne look absolutely dead.
Oh yeah, and they're like bloodletting and stuff.
Yeah.
And probably cocaine.
Yeah, probably cocaine. And then the doctor is sleeping here in this one, which
I think they tried to make it look like Marianne's situation is pretty dire.
Yeah, I kind of,
for the viewer.
Yeah, I didn't mind the doctor sleeping there. It's just interesting because then it's like two girls can't be like left alone, so it kind of makes sense that the doctor would be there when Mrs. Jennings couldn't be, you know?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
And then they finally get back home. The rest is basically the same. And Colonel Brandon is reading to Marianne, which I thought was super cute. And he's like reading with emotion, which we know how much Marianne loves.
Right.
And then you see Marianne growing to care for Colonel Brandon, which, you know, I love. And then Colonel Brandon,
I love.
Colonel Brandon sends Marianne a pianoforte, which is like really cute, but it's just funny to me because one of the things that she talks about in the book is that her and Willoughby had sheet music that was left open on the piano that doesn't exist in the movie.
Oh yeah, but you know, that's a detail.
It's again just one of those small details. I just think it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
So Edward rolls up after they find out that, you know, they think he's married. He's not, but, you know, Edward rolls up and all the girls have to pretend that they were just chilling in the house and they're like throwing things, putting it away, and like sitting down. And they did that in Pride and Prejudice as well, and I just think it's so funny.
Yeah, it works.
Eleanor's eyes just went so wide when he goes, "Oh, you mean Mrs. Robert Ferris?" Her eyes were like out of her head.
They do a good job of that, for sure.
And then instead of Eleanor running out of the room crying, she just starts breaking down right in front of Edward. And the sisters and her mother just look at each other and immediately leave.
Yeah. Her cry is good, though.
Yeah, her cry is very good.
Very much what's described in the book, which would be very hard to do.
I know. I just thought it was very funny that they go outside and Margaret climbs into her treehouse and's like spying on them with her little telescope.
See, Margaret is such an important person in this movie.
And they're like, he got down on one knee. And Mary Ann and Miss Mama Dashwood are just like screaming.
They're like, don't look, but tell us what's happening.
Yeah. And then it goes to Colonel Brandon and Mary Ann's wedding, and right behind them is Edward and Eleanor. So they already got married. We didn't get to see that wedding, but you know.
Oh, I always thought it was a double wedding.
I mean, she's not in a wedding dress or a veil or anything, so I just assumed she was like maid of honor situation.
Oh, that's very possible.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they're not going to show, like, they would have had something small, just family, whereas Colonel Brandon's wedding is going to be extravagant because he has money.
Well, that part's true.
And then Willoughby on horseback just looking down at Mary Ann's wedding just got to me a little bit.
See, that's him showing his regret.
Yeah, it's so dramatic, and I just thought it was kind of funny.
It is.
Then Colonel Brandon throws coins into the air, and Fanny makes John grab coins from the ground, even though they're absolutely loaded. And I just thought that was funny.
It was very on brand for her.
Very on brand.
She's the worst.
Absolutely. So that is all we have. That is the 1995 Sense and Sensibility movie.
What do you rate it out of 5?
I'm going to say it was like 4 out of 5. It was good, but I really wish I wish they didn't speed up the timeline because I think it makes things seem weird.
Yeah, I could see that.
Like, I just wish they would have shown changing of seasons, those kinds of things, and like slowed it down a bit because it just felt very, very rushed, especially having the original text and knowing what the original text was supposed to be. It's just kind of strange.
I agree with that. That's true. Yeah.
How do you feel about it now that you've actually read the book?
I think my biggest disappointment is Lucy.
Yeah.
But I also think, like, I feel this way with, like, any Jane Austen movie just because they are very old books at this point that they do some things to, like, the movie usually takes some liberties. Like, both this movie and Pride and Prejudice, not to compare again, but they both take liberties with, like, romanticizing the script a little bit.
Yeah.
So, like, you actually hear Edward's proposal in this one, and it's cute, and there's certain things that Darcy says in the movie that he doesn't say in the book, but I love those lines in the movie.
Yeah.
So, I don't mind that. Like, I don't mind some of the liberties that the movies take. But Lucy is for sure the greatest disappointment because I think it's important to show that she's really not deserving of being with Edward.
Yeah, I think just it's strange that they made that choice, and I think the movie would have been a lot better had they kept her being catty.
Right. And I think it would show better that she's not the right match and that she's, like, not as educated or polite.
Yeah, because, like, this one, it just kind of seems like, oh, they just happened to not work out. Whereas, like, the book's like, no, if they had gotten married, both of them would have been very unhappy.
Right. Like, I think that they don't do a good job of showing her as being, I don't know, just not right.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. But it's a good movie. And I think that Margaret is one of the best liberties they take in this movie.
I fully agree with that.
They give her so much personality, and I think that's important. I really love Mrs. Jennings.
I wish we got
And
more Mrs. Jennings, I'll be honest.
I told you didn't like her at first, and you love her now.
I know.
Hooked.
Her being in London with Mrs. Jennings completely changed my opinion on her character.
Oh yeah, she's funny. And I think that Charlotte is good casting. Like overall this movie has very good casting.
Yeah.
But I think that it's lacking in some ways of like Lucy's character development, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And Mrs. Jennings, you're right. I do wish there was a little bit more Mrs. Jennings, but I love Mrs. Jennings' casting. Her and Charlotte are both freaks.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
And it's weird to me, though, that, like, with the Mrs. Palmer situation is they didn't make her look pregnant or anything, and then they just kind of went to Cleveland, and she already had, like, a 2-month-old baby there. So it's like, that means they just left the baby with the nanny in Cleveland. They didn't bring the baby.
Like in London, you mean?
No, like, they didn't bring the baby to London at all.
Or you just don't see the baby in London.
Maybe, but it's just weird that was another change they make.
Yeah, I mean,
it's all small but like kind of strange choices, you know?
Yeah, I think there's small choices that could have been easily fixed sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think that they had some justification of like, you know, I don't want to bring Mrs. Ferris into this, so we'll do this. And like, fine, it still gets the main point of the story across.
Yeah, true.
And honestly, Mrs. Ferris doesn't really bring much to the table other than her being very elitist.
Yeah.
And she's just not, I mean, she's necessary, but like you get enough of like hearing about who she is in this movie,
yeah,
that you don't need to meet her to fully understand her character.
Yeah, true.
So I don't know. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I liked it. It was pretty good. I'd watch it again. 10 out of 10. We'll watch again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all we have. So thank you so much, Allison, for joining me on this adventure with Sense and Sensibility.
I love it. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Where can all the people of the internet find you?
My Instagram is @_ Allison Eason _.
Flows right off the tongue.
Yeah. It always sounds so good when I say it.
Yeah, we love it. But we will catch you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all so very much for listening to this episode of the Barely Bookish podcast. As I kind of mentioned at the beginning, we will be reading The Great Gatsby next. So if you haven't read that yet and you want to make sure you don't get any spoilers, please do that before next week. It's not super long, so you can probably read it in an afternoon if you really want to be honest. It's a really good read. It's pretty quick. All that good stuff. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of announcements. We are doing Stardew Valley at 7 p.m. on Twitch tonight. And then we will have the D&D campaign over on Rhapsodic_Geeks on Twitch. That'll be tomorrow at 6 p.m. So every Thursday at 6 p.m. is the plan for that one. And then the Stardew Valley stream is going to be changing times, probably. So just go to twitch.tv/barelybookish, and then you'll always know when the stream is, because I'll have a stream schedule up. You'll also get push notifications if you follow, and all that good stuff. We also had, if you like more content, and if you want more content, we have Patreon episodes that are coming out the first Friday of every month. We've already done Bridget Jones' Diary, we've done the 1995 versus 2005, and we have a lot of great stuff coming in the future. So if you want extra episodes, please consider subscribing over on Patreon, plus it helps the podcast and all that good stuff. But if you want to know the best way to help the podcast grow, please consider leaving us a review. It's incredibly helpful, and it helps more people find us, share us with a friend, all that good stuff. But yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one. I'm very excited for the books that we have coming up. I've got quite a few prepped at this point, so there's going to be some good ones. You'll hear some cool podcasters coming up. Anyways, without further ado, I will catch you guys in the next one. My logo was designed by my little sibling, Sarah. Our theme song was by Raphael Crux on freepd.com. And that's all I've got for you guys this week. I'll catch y'all later. Bye!